How's it, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is well. And what are we reviewing today? Okay, it is the Blackwidow V3 Mini Hyperspeed 65% wireless RGB mechanical gaming keyboard. Woo! Yeah, that took a lot. But as is normal, we're going to be checking out the specs, its performance, and so on and so forth. But let's look at it. Let's talk about design, and in typical Razer style, it is beautifully put together. This is a 65% keyboard, so I'm going to start off straight with the dimensions. It is 33 centimeters by 13 centimeters by 4.7 centimeters. So it does fall into what a 65% keyboard is meant to be, but it does weigh quite a bit. It's over 700 grams. Not that detrimental, owing to the fact that it is a keyboard and it needs to stay static. But how does it stay static? So let's look at the keyboard. Straight up top, it has got a metal plate that encompasses the entire surface area of the keyboard. If we look underneath, it has got kickers with a 6-degree and a 9-degree lift. Everything else on the keyboard is made out of plastic, but we can see at the bottom that there is rubberized stoppers which prevents any slip, and I can promise you that if you put them on your skin, it will pull some hairs out because they've got very, very good sticking type properties. Now, the one thing that could count against this keyboard is the fact that it is 4.7 centimeters high, which is not generally normal for a 65% keyboard, but that's because of the switches that it uses. Now, I can tell you, having used the keyboard, that it doesn't really affect it that much. It doesn't need low profile switches, but altogether, it's just a beautiful, well put together product where you can see so much attention to detail, even with the Razer logo in the center, as well as if you're looking at the back, your USB dongle is hidden away in a nice little compartment. So very, very well put together by Razer. Now, specs, and it goes without saying that this is mechanical, but the mechanical switches that it uses is proprietary Razer yellow. Now, what the yellow is they are kind of clicky, but it has a dampener in it that prevents sound. So we can see that from the sound test, and I'll do a little bit of a type-a-thon here. Now, I can tell you that those switches are butter. They are absolute butter, and the fact that they're yellow kind of proves my point. The switches are absolutely beautiful. So immediately we got a huge thumbs up on those switches. They're not mushy. They are very, very clinical, very clean switches, which is exactly what you want from your switches when gaming. So looking at these mechanical switches, you can see that they are cross caps, but they also have side, I want to call it protection. So that means that when you actually physically put the keycap on, you're going to have no play on the keys, which just complements these switches all that much more. More on the specs, it does have, these keycaps have about an 80 million key press lifetime, which if you look at a lot of other keyboards, it means that this is going to last a lot longer, which is a massive plus to it. Further on specs, the dongle that it comes with has the ability to receive other signals from other, what I assume would only be Razer products. So that means that you can have one dongle for your keyboard and mouse and possibly headset. And if you are worried about the information being passed through there won't be any bottlenecking, because even at 1,000, even an 8,000 plus an 8,000, you're not going to get anywhere near what it is required to throughput. Even on USB 2, you are pretty safe on that. Moving on to how it connects. So this connects in three ways. You can either have it connected with the USB-C cable. It can connect via Bluetooth, or it can connect via its 2.4 wireless receiver. So nice connectivity and options coming out of Razer on how it connects. Further, it has got a 1000 hertz polling rate. Now, one thing that I did find odd, not that you'd need to change the polling rate, it's kind of odd to change polling rates, especially on a keyboard, but you can't really see the adjusted poll, but it is 1000 hertz on polling rate. So if you don't know what that means, it just means that as soon as you make a click, the reception to your computer, there's a nice low latency, which means automatic or immediate response. So you're not inhibited by the fact that you're not plugged in directly via the beautiful braided cable that they give you anyway, which you need to charge it. So in order to show you the features, the most important feature would be Razer Synapse, and obviously the chroma that makes this keyboard tick. And in order to do that, I'm going to take you through to a little video that I created.
Okay, with the software, it has got so much, I honestly don't know where to begin, so I'm going to try start at the beginning. First thing is, let's go through the basic functions where you can put gaming mode on or actually enable it in game, and then I assume that there's going to be some form of software that recognizes where there's a game, either in profile or if you have Cortex installed. So if you see there, if it's always on, it'll disable your Windows key. Anyone that hits Windows key while gaming knows that it's the most irritating and frustrating thing, but I'm going to turn it off. Now, let's go to something cool. So you have the ability to save all of your profiles and enable Hypershift. Now, Hypershift uses the function keys to do a plethora of things. Now, I've already saved one function where if I go to, let's actually show you, you can choose what a Q does in function mode. So it can be a mouse function, an enter device, switch profile, lighting, launch a program, multimedia, volume down, volume up, next track, etc., etc. You can have Windows shortcuts to cycle through apps, open a calendar, or even a text function. So let me show you what it does. If I'm in Notepad, I hit Q and Q pops up. However, if I hold in the function key and push Q, as you can see, I've saved that profile as a whoop. The abilities are pretty much endless, and you can bind any key that's on the keyboard to this. And again, being able to switch lighting, launch a program. Let's move on to lighting. Now you can choose the brightness, which is pretty obvious. If it's on idle, you can say if you idle, it'll turn off, which is a great battery saving technique. Or when display is turned off, it'll turn off in X amount of time. But we have our quick effects, which is your ambient awareness, audio meter, and so on. Pretty much all the standard things that we're used to. But here's where it gets really interesting, and you do need to install Chroma Studio in order to activate. And you can see that I've already activated this. Now, imagine you are physically seeing the keyboard. Just like any program, if anybody watching is a streamer, how you would layer your scenes, you can actually layer the key bindings. So if I want static and I want my WSAD, because these are the buttons that I'm most frequently going to, I can highlight them in a different color. And if your peripheral vision is good enough and you are trying to find your keys, you'll be able to look down quickly and immediately see where those are. Then on ambient awareness, you will be able to change, well, anything. So if I don't want ambient awareness, I just want fire, I can save that. And then my keyboard is on fire, except for my WSAD. And you'll see that there are so many effects that you can customize, and you can put layer upon layer upon layer upon layer and make each one of those do a different function. So I can't stay too much here because I can honestly be here for days layering the different applications. And you can also set up the keys in conjunction with what you have set up in the actual keyboard binding. And then lastly, power, which is pretty straightforward. You do have power saving, and the estimates from Razer is that it will last 200 hours. I don't know if that is with the effects on or off.
So you can see that I was obviously impressed by the software and the features of this. It was absolutely mind-blowing. The only thing that I could attribute to being negative would be the fact that Razer software does tend to be a little bit more resource heavy, not that much more. So if that is a negative and you are really worried about, you know, the extra, I don't know, 200 megabytes that it might take up on your RAM, then, you know, look the other way. But if not, then it's really not that much of a sacrifice to make. So performance and NGL, I struggled in the beginning to get used to this keyboard. I honestly had to ask the guys that I was playing with, is it E or F to pick up something in Call of Duty? And I did a live stream with it when I unboxed it. But as you got used to it, you just started to appreciate how good the switches are, how smooth everything started to run. And after literally maybe a couple of hours use, it was like I was using my normal keyboard the whole time, and I'd got completely used to it. So performance-wise, absolutely performed, and for any serious FPS gamer, this is a definite look at. Okay guys, it is a conclusion time. Now, I think it goes without saying that this is an absolute phenomenal keyboard. When you're getting this, you're buying both the keyboard, those butter-like switches, as well as the software that is seamless and just works so well, and that is typical Razer. But what's also typical Razer is price, and this one hurts because it retails for about 3,500 Rand, which is a bit difficult and a difficult pill to swallow. Now, can you get something that's cheaper that has the same? Yes. Well, actually no, because you're not going to get Razer yellow switches because those belong to them, it's their tech. But you got to look at a couple of aspects. So this keyboard is so well put together. You can feel that it's just going to last forever, and I will swallow my words if somebody, you know, obviously you're going to have people that there are manufacturing defaults, but for the majority, I think that this keyboard's going to last a good 4, 5, maybe even 6 years. Maybe not wirelessly because that battery is going to die out over time, but if you can replace the battery, there you go. So is it worth 3,500 Rand? If you're a Razer fan, which is kind of like a cult in gaming, this is a no-brainer for you. Is it for everybody else? Well, I encourage you to try find a Razer friend and try it, because it is honestly a different experience playing on this keyboard. It was phenomenal to be able to use this, especially in a first-person shooter. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't hit the bell for notifications and want to see future reviews, do it. And I hope to see you guys soon. Have an awesome day or night or morning, wherever you are. Cheers, guys. Goodbye.